Hey, it's Shauna. Welcome to More Good News Only, where we celebrate the stories that uplift and inspire us all. On today's show, we're going to be talking about determination. So I hope you're ready. But every weekday at 10:30 a.m. and then again at 1 p.m., we are recapping the good news only, the feel good headlines, the inspiring moments that bring a little more light to your day. And I want to hear from you too. So if something good is happening in your world, a community success, a personal victory, a birthday, or just something that made you smile, send me an email to news25 at week.com and be sure to put Hey Shauna in the subject line so I know it's for me. I would love to share your good news right here on the show. So today's show, as I mentioned, is full of good news. We're going to be talking a lot about determination. We have a lot of stories today that are about just sheer determination of human beings who are passionate about something, whether it be their hobbies, their jobs, their lives, right? Animals, the will just to live, right? We're going to be talking a lot about determination and about passion. So I hope you enjoyed today's show. Speaking of passion, earlier today for the 10 o'clock, I don't know if you saw the 10, but our 10:30. Our 10:30 show, we were talking about Valentine's Day. That show was all about just love. The stories just seem to have a central theme of just love, and I think it was fitting, being that this is the second day of February, a month that we typically associate with Valentine's Day and love. And so I was saying that I really, every Valentine's Day, I get my daughter and myself chocolate covered strawberries. And so now that I am here and not back in Columbia at home, I don't have my chocolate place. Like, I had a certain place that I would go every single Valentine's Day. It was called the Chocolate Factory, actually, literally, and they had the best chocolate covered strawberries. Yes, the grocery stores sell them, but they usually don't have the best quality chocolate. My mouth watered. They usually don't have the best quality chocolate, and it's usually not thick enough. Like, I don't want thick chocolate, but you don't want like thin where it falls apart either. But anyway, that's all the way off on a tangent about chocolate covered strawberries. But it just makes me grieve it. Like, I'm just so sad because I'm not at home to do my normal things. I have no idea where I'm going to get chocolate covered strawberries this season. So if you know a place in the Peoria area, even in Bloomington, would I drive? I would drive to Bloomington for chocolate covered strawberries. I sure would. Um, if you know of a place that does good chocolate covered strawberries, send me an email, news25week.com. Make sure you put Hey Shauna in the subject line so I know it's for me. I really want those chocolate covered strawberries this year. And that's usually like our thing. Like, I buy myself some and I buy her some. We need to have our thing. More about our things after the break. Hmm? No, what's wrong? Do you need something? Welcome back to More Good News Only. So, listen, we're going to start our afternoon with Black History Month because it's Valentine's Day, but it's also Black History Month, which is important to all of us. And the Peoria Public Library agrees. Look at this. So, Peoria Public Libraries are kicking off Black History Month in style by honoring those who have paved the way for future generations. I think this is absolutely awesome. So, Black History Month begins with celebrations of Black history, or I'm sorry, with celebrations that kicked off yesterday. The Peoria Public Libraries are leading the charge to honor trailblazers. May Reeves was in the spotlight. So, at the local or at the Lincoln branch, they focused on May Reeves, and she was a pioneering African American businesswoman and fashion icon from Philadelphia. I love that they are branching out to just, people all over. Like, I love to hear about local African American heroes, but I also love to hear about those who are maybe a little more global, that have done things that affect us all locally. And I know we always hear about people who live all over the world, but I think it's really good to kind of highlight people that are not, the ones we always hear about, right? Like our typical heroes at Black History Month. So I love this. I love that she is from the fashion world. Reeves made her mark not only in fashion, designing custom hats for icons like Eartha Kitt and Lena Horne, but also as a passionate advocate for the Black community. She was one of the first African American women to own a business in Philadelphia. That's why that kind of stuff is important. And actively supported the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. So Peoria is having this month-long celebration in honor of Black History Month throughout February. Peoria Public Libraries will host events to honor historical figures and local trailblazers with more. So we have more details also on our site. So go to 25newsnow.com to get more on that, the schedule of that. So listen, if you find yourself focused on the negative, Cleveland Clinic psychologist Susan Albers offers advice on how to turn that around. I personally think that I am. Oh, more on that after the break. I'm a break. I'm back, so don't come over here. Well, are you an optimist or a pessimist? Leon, which one would you say you are?
Always an optimist, always. I'm
Okay.
pessimistic about good news only.
Oh, I disagree. I think you're more optimistic than I was at times. I would say I'm a realist. Um, but I would say for the most part, I am optimistic now. I don't know if Leon would agree with that. Okay. I feel like I'm optimistic about the things that, or I'm optimistic about things when there's not a pattern of them going downhill, right? Like negatively. After so many times of doing the same thing, getting the same result, I'm like, hey, this is probably what's about to happen. That's where the realism comes in. However, so Cleveland Clinic psychologist Susan Albers says that you don't have to ignore the negatives, right? She says, which is good news. Like being optimistic doesn't mean that you ignore them. I think you have to acknowledge them, and she agrees. She says you just have to learn how to move past them. So, for example, if your team loses a game, instead of feeling defeated, an optimist looks for ways to improve and bounce back stronger. Now, if you're me, your team don't lose. I mean, that's just how it is. If you are Shauna, your team doesn't lose, and if it does, then somebody was cheating. That's all I'm saying about that. Moving on. So Albert says that our brains are wired to focus on threats and worst case scenarios, but we can train ourselves to break that cycle. While it may be challenging for some, practicing optimism can improve overall well-being and help you overcome setbacks more effectively. And I will have to say that I agree with that. Positive thinking has got me through a lot in my life. There have been times where everything looked all bad, felt all bad, because it was all bad. But even in those times when I looked around and saw all bad, if I just, even if I didn't see it, if I just thought something good, if I just thought something good would come out of it, if I just decided something good would come out of it, then it did. If I just decided things were going to turn around, and if I said it to myself enough times, and if I did whatever I could in my power, right, to help things along, sometimes there's nothing you can do. Sometimes it just is what it is. Whatever is happening, if it's and it's negative, right, it could be painful. Whatever it is just is what it is. But positive thinking, looking on the bright side, finding a reason to be grateful, even if it's the tiniest reason ever, right? The smallest, simplest, most superficial thing. Even you didn't feel it, right? Even if I didn't feel it, has helped me a lot in my life, because not everything has been sunshine and sunflowers for me in my life. And I don't think it's that way for most of us in our lives. I think sometimes we have no choice but to look for the positive. And when we do that, I know for myself, when I have done that in my life, it has come about. More good news after the break. Welcome back to Morgan News. Now we're going to be talking about a story that I think is the perfect example of thinking positively in the midst of, something that may not be so positive in the midst of hardship. So this is a heartwarming story of perseverance. So, Rachel Koleski, this is who this is. She takes home the gold at the Mixed Doubles National Curling Championship. So, her eyes are now set on Worlds in April after winning. Look at how, oh, she's so happy. So happy. I wonder why they call this curling. If you know why they call this curling, send me an email news25wek.com. Be sure to put Hey Shauna, SHAUNA, in the subject line so I know it's for me. What is that about? Anyway, so despite the high of victory, Rachel reflects on the deep loss of her brother Steve, who introduced her to curling at the age of 8. Rachel opens up about battling health struggles and the emotional toll of her brother's passing. This made the win all the more meaningful for her. Rachel kept a picture of Steve with her during the match, feeling his presence with every shot and dedicating the win to her brother. For me, I think this is the perfect example of when something not so positive is happening that you can't control. Like, there's nothing she can do in her power to change the negativity of that feeling, right? Of grief, of having lost someone. And it never, ever, 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 ever goes away. But for her, she found a way to honor her brother's memory, to take him along with her, and to continue doing what he started with her when she was 8 years old. And you can see the joy on her face as a result of that. What pushed her, motivated her, helping her to win this championship. And it always, for me, as a person who is living through grief, it never goes away. I think for me, it's every accomplishment seems bittersweet because I always wonder, like, do they know? Or I always feel like, oh, they should have been here, or I wish they were here. And it's always because I want to know. I would like for them to know, like, we were supposed to do this together, or we were supposed to celebrate together, or, do they know? It's always the biggest thing for me. Do they know? And for me, I do very similarly to what she is doing by making sure I find a way to honor that person's life, their presence, their legacy, and what they did for me in my life, and take them along on the journey in any way I can, whether it be a picture or a ring that I always wear. That brings positivity to that negative, not so good feeling. More good news after the break. Welcome back to more Good News Only. Now, this next story is about a nurse who braved the ice. And I think you'll. This is adorable. I think you'll like it. It's really sweet. So she's a nurse and she lives in Alabama. She is showing incredible dedication by braving treacherous conditions to report for duty during a winter storm. I mean, that is dedication. Shelby Smith rides a scooter through freezing rain and icy roads to make it to her ER where she works, and refusing to let the storm stop her. So Shelby shares challenges that she faced with a scooter battery that kept dying. She says what she would do is stop and kick it. This is a scooter she borrowed from from her niece, and she didn't expect it to snow as bad as it did on her way to work. She thought she could make it and it wasn't going to be too bad, but it got really, really snowy. But she kept going, and then the battery would die, and she would just kick it, and it would start again. And she was able to get back on and ride. To all I can think in my mind, looking at this, is her thighs must have been burning. I wonder if she runs. But Shelby shares, or she discusses the lack of recognition for healthcare workers who go the extra mile during storms or emergencies. So true. So, despite the difficulties, Shelby says taking care of patients is her top priority, and she'll do it all over again. It just makes me think about during COVID, how many nurses still had to report to work, and I know that COVID is not the only pandemic that they have lived and your nurses have lived and worked through, and it's not the only thing that they still had to show up for work for when the rest of the world shied away or was told to stay away. It's just an example in my lifetime where I saw firsthand with having sisters who are nurses and how they had to be at work on the front lines of what was at that time one of the most dangerous times in history, with this disease that was relatively unknown to the most of us, and there was no medicine and they didn't know how to deal with it, but these people had to be right there. It was deadly and they had to be right there. My sister was in that number. So I agree that there is a lack of recognition for healthcare workers who do go the extra mile, not just in storms of the weather type, but in the storms of life. So thank you to them. I always want to acknowledge and thank them for what they do. And after the break, we are going to, actually, we're not going to talk about that after the break on tomorrow's show, excuse me. We'll be talking about this family who has found a unique way to continue working the business that they started and that they're passionate about, and be able to incorporate their family time as a priority in their lives. I think you will enjoy that story. I do. Well, that is a wrap for me. Now I want to hear from you. Please go to news25 at WEK.com and send me an email. Let me know what you thought about today's show. And to answer this, let me know, what is it that you do in the midst of hard times to stay positive? How do you stay positive in the midst of hard times? Send me an email, news25wek.com, SHAUNA, in the subject line so I know it's for me. We can discuss that in the chat on 25 News Good News Only Facebook page. So if you're not following that, go follow that. In the meantime, be sure to check out all of the evening newscasts and meet me back here tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. I'm LaShawna Guy for 25 News. Have a wonderful afternoon.